Hello, good morning. My name is Andres Sebastian F. Narra. I am a 33 years old here living in Canada, and I was born in the Philippines.
Okay. So, Andy, it's an interview for my intercultural communication assignment, and I'm gonna ask you 8 questions on three different phases. The first phase is based on the recognized behavior. The second one is on the explained belief, and the third one is on deeply embedded beliefs. So I already shown you the questions and everything. I think you got everything. So, Andy, how do people greet one another at your place?
Well, verbally, the verbal cues that we use to greet one another is kamusta, which is
Kamusta?
basically a translation of the word how are you?
How are
That's a
you?
common
Okay,
greeting in the
yeah.
Philippines.
Okay, that's great. And are holidays important? And describe how a holiday is celebrated.
Oh yes, holidays are very much important. Philippines is primarily a Roman Catholic country, and so the Christian culture is deeply embedded in our history. In fact, we segregate and we separate our calendars depending on the holidays, and there's usually mass gatherings and events during those holidays, and it always contains church mass
Church
during the
mass and
year. Yeah.
everything. So it's a little bit of related with the Western cultural
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
definitely, definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, Philippines was colonized by Spain for 300 years, so we have that Western
Oh
culture.
yeah, that's really great. And how will a visitor be welcomed to someone home?
The Philippines is very notorious for our own hospitality, despite everything. So the moment a visitor comes home, the moment a visitor enters the house, the family is structured and there's some expectation to prepare something or a feast for the visitor. So yeah, visitors are very much welcome in Filipino homes.
Okay, so we are getting to the second phase. So can you say how important is hierarchy there?
Oh, hierarchy is very important, but it's filial hierarchy, which
Okay,
means that it's primarily centered on families. So
families.
it's about families, and depending on the generation that determines the hierarchy
Oh yeah.
of a family unit.
Okay,
So, yeah.
so family matters. So how are gender roles perceived?
The Philippines is still primarily conservative, although gender roles there are very much expected to be fulfilled at on a very conservative Christian basis. We don't have a very strong feminist culture, and surprisingly, we don't need to, because to be honest, Philippine women are quite badass. Philippine women are very much free. They're capable of climbing up political and economic hierarchies. There's no barriers for that, although there's still the expectation regarding marriage and being submissive to their
As
husbands.
well, like the all cultural
Yeah.
things, all the expectations and
Yeah.
everything. So on this phase, we do have the last question here. What are the cultural attitude towards aging and the elderly people?
Towards aging and the elderly, well, it's considered a matter of fact. Everyone ages, like we all know that. But it goes back once again to that hierarchy we were talking about, because because of our population density, like we're all dense in Manila, and because of that, we live in multi-generational households. In
Okay,
one house, there's like, one great grandfather, one grandmother, kids, grandkids, and so age is positively correlated with your hierarchical status. So that's very much integral to our family values.
okay. And the last phase is that how important is the individual in the culture? How important in the group?
Sorry, D.
Like how important is the individual in the
Oh, okay.
culture and how important is in the group?
Well, individuals are very much important because they compose the aggregate of everyone, but the country itself is not defined by either individualist or collectivist distinction. So there's really not much to it. Because of how populatedly dense we are, everyone is expected to be part of a group, but it's not really taboo if you're a loner or if you don't have any group whatsoever.
Okay. So The other question is that how important are family relationship?
Oh, very much. It's the backbone of everything. Family is more important than money, than hierarchy, than status. Family is everything. There's an expectation that an individual must work for their family. Students, if you ask them, they're studying to support their family. We're all going abroad so we can support our family. Everything goes back to the family.
And the last question will be, what's the relationship between human and nature? Example like, do human dominate the nature? Does nature dominate the human? Or both live in harmony? For an example, I can give you the forest of Sundarban, and like the Bangladesh Sundarban forest, where the nature, like which like they'd have the domination over the human. Like it's so fearsome. We can even hear the news about the Bengal tiger attacks and everything each and every day. So it's like that. So, or just like other areas in our Asian areas, like people exploit the forest or like that, or it's like you guys preserve the forest, or you guys live with the nature in an harmony. Not the forest itself. You guys have a lot of natural beauties and resources there. So, what do you think? You guys are living with an harmony with the nature, or any one of them is dominating each other?
Actually, I would say that it's quite complicated because Philippines can be divided into two. The first one is Manila, where the vast general population is condensed into one area. And because of that, it's a metropolitan city. There's no nature there. It's just basically you can see that people is nature, but it's not environmental. On the other hand, on the outskirts of the Philippines, on the farther parts, that's where people are living with nature. That's where people are having a complete agricultural and what they call this agricultural and yeah and environmental symbiosis with the nature itself. So it's not really uh, so there's not only one answer to that question because the people living in Manila, 90% of our countries live in Manila, they don't interact with nature. But the other 10% that lives on all the other parts of the Philippines, that's the one that's very much integrated with nature. So, yeah, I would say the ones in Manila dominate nature, the ones outside it are complementary with nature.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you for having me.